Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar where you will learn storytelling as an effective tool in public speaking, some of the techniques, tools and tricks, best practices, and finally something that you can sum it up all together and take home, start using in your public speaking. Have you ever watched great orators speak? Did you listen to those speeches that touched your heart, made a very good impact on you? If you found a common theme among all those speeches that you found inspirational, probably storytelling is one common theme across all those speeches. Why? Because stories have the power. They can touch, teach, enchant, motivate, inspire. It's no wonder we grew up from our childhood listening to the stories, right? It could be our friends, family, relatives, anybody. It could be the stories of our heroes from the history, inspirational personalities, or maybe bedtime stories, whatever is the format. But stories emotionally connect to us and help us understand. Engaging the audience, retaining their attention, and spanning across all ages is natural and inherent in a story. So, storytelling is an effective tool in any speaking. Right, now we have a reasonable understanding that storytelling is good to use in speeches. But how do we do that? It's much easier said than done. Even for fluent speakers, sometimes understanding the content of the speech, embedding stories in different parts of the speech, and still adhering to the time restrictions could be a challenge. I'm going to give you a few techniques, tips and tricks and best practices that you can combine together and own them. First, let's do a quick visit of some of the tools, techniques and tips. The first and foremost is you need to have or develop an eye for stories. For that, you need to start reading stories. Where do you find stories? You can find stories on internet, and Uncle Google is your friend. My dear friends, one thing you need to remember is that public libraries have got some good collection of stories that span different cultures and traditions and different contexts. So, whatever is the channel, but you need to get a good variety of stories. And when you pick the story, you got to make sure that you adapt to the context. If you're talking, for example, to a group of Americans, and if you're talking about the Super Bowl of 2017, that's a good one. But if you're talking about some rugby or a cricket game, they may get bored. So when you select the story, it has to be a proper one. Second, you need to paint the picture while delivering the story. You have to own the story in a way that you have to describe. In that process, you need to ensure that the audience can touch, feel, smell, paint those vivid pictures in their mind. In that way, they can walk you through the story and understand what you're talking about much better. The third and important factor is the element of humor. Don't underestimate the impact of humor. Avail every opportunity to embed humor. Having said that, humor is subjective, so make sure that you're sensitive to not hurt the emotions of your audience. Now we have taken a look at some of the tools, tips and techniques. Let us review some of the best practices. The first and foremost, I can tell you, is the law of simplicity. Start simple. When you do that, you take a simple story that spans probably a few seconds, but still has a good quick narration of characters and a theme. Eventually, you can expand the story duration and complexity as you become seasoned with storytelling. The second part is the preparation. My dear friends, remember, if you fail to prepare, you need to prepare to fail. That's the golden rule. Like any other public speaking, storytelling is no exception. Preparation is an absolute requirement. Finally, as we always do in our lives, we learn a lot through observation. So watch those great orators in action. Luckily, in today's world, there's a huge repository of such speeches. TED Talks, YouTube, or any other format. Watch great speakers speak. Try to imbibe those principles and own them by implementing them regularly in your speeches. Now let's sum it up together. Storytelling is an effective tool in your public speeches. You need to implement the techniques of learning a variety of stories, adapting them to the context, paint the picture, embed the humor where it is possible, and the best practices of start simple, prepare well, and learn through the observation and deliver well. With all this, my dear friends, under your belt, I'm very sure that you're all set to deliver your next rocking speech that is full of interesting stories. Go ahead, enjoy your speaking, and rock the show. Thank you very much.